All right, good morning, everyone. I'd like to call this special Board of Ed meeting to order. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So as we often do, I would like to just have an opportunity to allow for public comment if anyone has any, but it doesn't look like we have members of the public here for this emergency meeting. You guys obviously have the opportunity to speak during the presentation, so that's fine. So I guess we will move into board action. So as everyone knows, we're here this morning to discuss the proposed merger with North Salem Baseball and Somers Baseball. Just as by way of context, so first things first, at the March 11th Board of Ed meeting, we tabled the resolution originally. So before we can even act on anything and before we have our discussions, I just want to untable that resolution so that we can then proceed to, we're getting a little Robert's rules this morning, but we have to untable the resolution to move forward and act upon it either way. So I'm going to just read that resolution. So this will be just the vote to untable the resolution, not on the merger itself. Whereas the Board of Education of the Somers Central School District at the March 11, 2025 Board of Education meeting voted to take item 9C, athletic team merger, off the table at the specific meeting. Now therefore be it resolved that the Board of Education would like to bring item 9C from the March 11, 2025 meeting back to the table in order to take action on this item.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, so now that brings us to our athletic team merger baseball resolution. And I guess I should have, I know the board probably has some questions before we begin a little bit. We've gotten, as you know, I'm sure, opposition. We've gotten for, and I just kind of want to make sure we're clear on the facts and what's happening currently. So I just want to summarize a little bit of it to be clear that the duration of the merger is for this season only. The future decision on the mergers will definitely depend on circumstances from year to year. Numbers are looking to go up next year, so we're not looking to probably continue this if it's not in that best interests. I'm going to have Mark and Coach speak to the player numbers as far as all of that's concerned, because the numbers from North Salem are changing as far as what we originally had spoken about. It's going down. And just to be clear on as far as the financial considerations go, if any North Salem players should make the team, it would be a percentage of however much they make up of the team to contribute towards our baseball team, meaning like the coaches, the buses, etc. So if 5% of players of North Salem make up our team, North Salem contributes 5% of the costs of that team. So that being said, Chad, you probably have some, I know you have some questions, so.
Yeah, well, I certainly do. And we've been working through trying to understand kind of all of this, and we got thrown into it kind of late, so it's been a little tough for us on the board figuring this out. And that's why we've ended up with an emergency meeting this morning to discuss this. So I guess I want some more perspective, honestly, on how this affects our team. And, you know, I give a lot of value, just want you to know. When our administration, when our coaches, when our teachers, when they are asking for something and asking for our support for something, trust me, I give a lot of value to that. You know, we're here representing the whole district, which includes our community and our town. So, you know, there's a lot of things we have to take into consideration. But it's always starting with the kids, with our kids, and our trust in you guys. But I really do need, help me out. Go through how this impacts our teams, what's our need, how does this fill a need for us, how does this enhance our team. If you can provide any of that, that would be helpful to me.
So, first of all, good morning. and thank you.
Unfortunately,
Yeah.
we're going to have you step over to the microphone. Thanks, Mark.
I'm going to ask Coach to come up with me as well, just to
Yeah.
call back there when he. Good morning. First of all, thank you all for being here in the early wake-up call. Coach Genovese will be joining me to help backfill any information that I might miss or forget or just don't know. So the answer to the question of why, where, and how. So I'm going to give you a very brief history. We were contacted over the summer by North Salem about a potential baseball merger. At that time, myself, Coach Genovese, the athletic director at North Salem, Ms. Denise Kiernan, we met via Zoom, and their varsity baseball coach, I apologize, his name is slipping my mind. We met for reasons that merger could not happen. It just couldn't take place. It wasn't right for either district at the time. We did not go any further with that. We tabled that, moved on. Since then, there's been another merger with football. Throughout the process, we have not heard from North Salem. Baseball was in the past. Early February-ish, we were contacted again by North Salem. I know our superintendent spoke. They had the discussion on possibly merging again. That didn't happen. Last Friday, or on Friday, March 7th, they contacted us with paperwork. They officially sent us the paperwork to say, hey, we're going to need you, because without you, our kids cannot play baseball this year. We would not have a team. So, Chad, just to answer one of your questions, and then I'm going to go back, is how does this benefit Somers? The impact, which I'll discuss soon, is of very, very, very minimal impact to playing time. Once we get through that, and I'll talk about that because I don't even think the playing time is an issue, there is nothing but benefits. And most importantly, what we will be doing here in Somers is we will be giving about 6 student athletes from North Salem the ability to compete this year. So the benefit for us is to enable our neighbors who we have merged with on many teams over the past few years the ability to play baseball for this year. What I have seen with those mergers that we have entered with North Salem is nothing but overwhelming success on a competitive level, a social level. I was even speaking with Harry this morning. One of those North Salem kids that have joined our merger is now coaching in our school district. So the first benefit, I would say, is to develop those social connections, to enhance the competitive nature of practices, and for our district to maintain a relationship with North Salem that we have always had, that has promoted nothing but the best and giving kids who otherwise would not have a chance to play. So I'm going to go back to the timeline. The timeline has now been about 7 months since we first, or 8 months since we spoke over the summer at North Salem. Through those conversations with Coach Genovese, who I have complimented many times publicly and behind closed doors, we have thought about what can make this work. So while I understand, and I apologize to some extent that there was a suddenly of this for the board and trying to go on an informational grab, this was spoke about in-house. Coach Genovese has assured me many, many, many times and has backed it up with plans, additional coaches, modifications on game scheduling, how this can work and why it would work. Our numbers, most importantly, our numbers in our program, and I could speak over my time here as Director of Athletics. We have had numbers in the low 60s 2 years ago and last year. This year, we have numbers, our number, and Coach Genovese, correct me if I'm wrong, with 8th graders that are pulled up, assuming all those 8th graders make a roster, our number this year is 50. Our roster size on the freshman and JV level in the past couple of years has been bigger and will be bigger even if we add the North Salem students. North Salem, when entering the paperwork as per Section 1 policy, had to give us a number of students that they believed that they would send over. That number of students was 3 ninth graders, 3 10th graders, and 2 11th graders. That's the paperwork they submitted to us on March 7th. Since then, and it has been spoken about, and in my conversation with the director of athletics yesterday, they do not think that number is going to go higher than 2 in the 9th grade and 10th grade, and think it can be at 1 in the 9th grade and 10th grade. So at maximum, while I can't say with certainty because there's still a 3 and 3 on that 9th and 10th grade list, at maximum, I believe we will not have more than 2 kids on the 9th grade level, 2 kids on the 10th grade level, and 2 kids on the in the junior class. That might be 1. Whether it was 3 or 2 or 1, I know we can take this on. The playing time will be available. Nobody will be cut. As Coach Genovese and his coaching staff said last Thursday night in the gymnasium, and when he told those parents, we are making our teams first. We are taking care of our kids first. That is what is important. And then the second most important thing is making sure that these North Salem young men, who I do not know, folks I've never met, that they have a chance to play baseball. And then making it work. And that's where I trust that our coaching staff, with Coach Genovese, a Somers graduate, this baseball program means everything to him. Mike Watson, his assistant, a Somers graduate. Ron Tan, our freshman coach, a Somers resident, sent his students through our baseball program, his students through our high school. Our district, Mike D'Souza, a teacher in the high school, will go ahead and take care of the rest and make sure this is a wonderful experience. And I no doubt, feel confident that it will. Athletics is funny. There's bumps in the road. There always is. There always is. With that being said, I enter this representing our school district with nothing but the utmost confidence that this will have a minimal impact. Our students here will not be impacted. Our students will have a great experience. And then after we discuss this this morning, I was going to say tonight, excuse me, that we will be playing baseball and this will be an afterthought. I hope that answered your question, Chad.
Thank you. And Coach, can you also mention, I know in your email you mentioned about the ratio is better this year now with the additional coaches. Can you go into that somewhat? Because that's a benefit, obviously, as well, I would imagine.
Yeah, so what we were able to do before even really considering the merger, we, based off of the last couple of years, the sections kind of really put an emphasis on the sophomore, the JV and freshman teams being somewhat of a farm system for development. We've kind of had a situation where we're in limbo a little bit. We lost a JV coach late last year, so I really wanted to focus on making sure that we had an ability to kind of create that environment. Obviously, from the email too, you can kind of see that little handbook we created. So we were able to onboard a couple other coaches to really be able to create a better ratio in general. So what we were able to do is last year we really only had 1 JV coach with 1 guy kind of helping out here and there. So it was about a 1-to-16 ratio, coach to player. Freshman, we had Coach Ron Tan, and again, about a 1-to-16 coach to player ratio. Not only was it just rough for the players to really be able to get that attention and development opportunity, but it was also really stressful for the coaches. So what I had really tried to focus on this summer was beyond, obviously, the conversations we had was just how can we make the experience better? How can we make this whole thing better? So we were able to get some voluntary help to... I don't know. Sorry about that. I get some voluntary help. Not only just helping hands, but guys that have played in college, our local people through the district, stuff like that. So even with taking these kids on, our ratio from player to coach is going to be better than it ever has. And then obviously based off of the document I shared in the email, organizationally, we really tried. I've tried to pour everything possibly into that handbook to try to make sure that when we are going through our program, obviously the development on the baseball side is important, making them better baseball players, but just in general, showing them what hard work is, rewarding them based off of that, just making them better off the field as well.
Thank you.
I have a question. I think you've been explaining from a financial point of view playing opportunity, number of people participating point of view. I think there's one more item I read from some of the emails and conversation is about the quality or ability of the players that participating to this joint merger. I would like to hear from you from a sportsmanship type of a principle, whether that is an issue at all for sort of influencing our decision.
Yeah, so I'm going to kind of go back to realistically talking about why I do this too, because I think that kind of ties into it. I graduated from Somers. I played my whole baseball career through our youth organization and obviously the high school. I went and played Division I baseball at University of Albany. And then when I came back, towards the end of my college career, when I came back, I started working, generating clinics for the youth organization, doing pitchers and catchers, stuff like that. I've tried to give everything into the community. And coaching for me is about giving back. So with the sportsmanship element, we've noticed when we first came in, there was high school baseball in general is very tricky right now, where we have a lot of kids that are watching things, whether it's on TV, computer, whatever it is, and they are kind of taking this idea that success needs to be celebrated for an elongated period of time rather than that kind of been there, done that, go and do your job and keep on rolling kind of thing. So we have really struggled through that. Mark and I have had plenty of conversations about how we can kind of better this. So for me, if this is a situation where I'm trying to obviously not make good baseball players, but make good young men, and at the end of the day, with this merger, I have gotten this brought to my attention from not only my players, but some of the parents, where we are trying to create, a good foundation morally for us to turn around and basically say to these 5 young men, hey, we can't.
Good morning. Please rise for the pledge.
Oh, boy.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please remain standing for a moment of silent meditation. Thank you. Please be seated. Good morning. Today is March 18th, 6th Day. Today's lunch is turkey tacos. International Club will be served cold salads today during the lock period. See Mrs. Suarez for work info. Cash only. There will be an AT Club meeting today after school. On Wednesday after school. Have a great day.
I'm going to try my best to kind of go where I was going with that. But
Please continue. Yeah.
basically, I've had some players and parents reach out in kind of response to the situation, really focusing on the fact, how could we tell 5 helpless kids that are just trying to play the game that they love, no, when we do have an opportunity to help them. And it goes back to the foundation that we're trying to build here through sportsmanship and through trying to develop these kids. And specifically a conversation I had with my 4 seniors yesterday, they basically were like, I just don't agree with it. They need our help. Why wouldn't we help them? And that's kind of, again, where it goes back to what I am as a coach morally. I've been at a lot of different levels, but the main reason of why I do this and why I've been doing this is to give back. So for me, that's where I sent the email to the board, because I just wanted to kind of get some of those thoughts out, where I feel that as if we're really trying to develop them and we give them this kind of, hey, yeah, we're not really going to stand by that. It's tough for me to go and ask them to do the same. So that's kind of how I view the whole predicament, and it's been a real internal struggle for me as well. I don't know. I hope that answers kind of what you were at. Okay, thank you.
Good. Thank you.
My comment on this is how it was presented, that it dragged out that last minute, and it's created a lot of controversy and distrust and turmoil within the baseball community. I've been getting phone calls from either side, and again, we've been put in a bad spot here in a short time with, partial, how it came out Friday and then last Tuesday. Again, there's nothing more I'd like to help these kids out. But we also have a whole bunch of people in the town and taxpayers that are, upset about how it was presented, how it came out. And now we have actually internal arguments between JV, varsity, freshman, 8th grade kids. I don't know who dropped the ball on how it, if it was talked about in the summer and sort of had some lead time into it, it makes it a lot easier situation and doesn't put us in this spot we are right now. So that's just my comment on it.
Yeah, and Dom, I'll address that, and thank you for bringing that up. We were given paperwork on March 7th, right? And that's when we had to act. What we did that evening on March 7th, we sent out a group post to our baseball community, letting them know that we've been made aware of this, and any information we will make sure to fill you in. That went out about an hour or two to over 115 people in our baseball community forum. What we discussed on that day, on that Friday, and JT and I remember having that discussion, was, hey, should we host a Zoom tomorrow morning on Saturday just for more of an information dig? Our challenge there with a Zoom was, I'm not sure if that was the best setting to host that in, knowing what we know about Zoom. What we agreed was we would do that on Thursday, March 13th, which was after the board vote. So absolutely get that we were kind of in a tight pickle. We did try to be as transparent with the community. When we decided to step away from that Zoom, what we did was we put together a list of about 12 bullet points, 8 bullet points, JT send out with the information. So as fast as we got the information from North Salem, we tried to do it, and that was on a Friday and a Saturday. That, while not right, we tried to give that information to the community. What I will say, Dom, about that is, at that Thursday meeting, we had about 50 people in that gym. Bunch of senior, I shouldn't say bunch, 3 to 4 senior athletes. There was 1 or 2 folks that spoke up outside of that from leaving the gym that night. In our baseball community, there was an overwhelming show of support. So that's what I'm seeing. I can't speak on the phone calls the board has received, emails the board has received. I've not been privy to those. From what I've heard, from conversations I've had yesterday, from hearing Coach and myself, the baseball team, and from giving the community a chance. And there was a large number. For the first time, we put the baseball team in the gym on Coach's night, meaning we had the largest number of people. The conversation was between myself, was between Coach, and two of the parents that night. My general sense was everybody wanted to talk baseball, talk ordering, talk uniforms. And I want to talk about the teams very quick, as JT left off on it, Coach left off on it, because we talked about North Salem and welcoming. What about our kids? What about supporting our kids? So everybody is aware, I think you are, the numbers. We have, and I'm going off the top of my head if I'm off, I apologize, 9, 4 seniors, 11 juniors. Thank you, Coach. We have 4 seniors, 12 juniors, 11 10th graders, 14 9th graders, and I want to focus on this number, is we have 9 8th graders. The reason we have 9 8th graders is because we determined that if we didn't pull up 8th graders this year to play freshman baseball, we would not have had a freshman baseball team. We would have had to join our JV and our varsity teams. Those 8th graders have the ability to play this year. We APP'd them, we tested them, because we wanted to keep freshman baseball in Somers and give them that opportunity to play. So those kids, the APP process is a funny one. When I started here, I met with the coaches council, we put it in, it wasn't in. Knowing the numbers of our district, they're going down, we're gonna need more support on the JV and varsity teams. We instituted a APP process, my first year here. Without this APP process, without these 8th graders moving up to freshmen and giving them the opportunity to move up to that freshman team, we probably would not have had a freshman team this year. I could confidently say we would not have. So rather than thinking about what do we give it, what do we, our kids are getting stuff taken away, I like to think our kids this year, especially that group, have a lot more options. If we had to join that freshman and JV team this year, we would have had about 22, 25 kids per team. Playing time would have went way down. That freshman team is allowing a lot more kids to play. That 8th grade group, I think it's great. The growth of baseball, Coach Genovese has re-energized this community. He's out there in the summer sweating with young kids. I've seen him. We've given our 8th grade, one of our 8th grade programs over this past winter, before any of this merger stuff came about, the chance to use our fitness center to get some training in. We want to support as many of our kids as possible. It's my thing. I work with SISO. I sometimes joke I'm not the AD of the district. I'm the AD for SISO. We work with them a lot. I want to support all of our kids. I think we're doing that, and we're also finding a really delicate balance to supporting the North Salem kids as well.
Can I just, I understand that there's enough space on the team for all these kids, but I think part of the concern as well is the actual playing time. It's one thing to make the team, it's another thing if you're not going to be on the field playing because there are too many kids on the team or you've increased the number of kids on the team. How can we address that situation? What can we do, assuming that the board moves forward with the merger? What can we do to mitigate that? What can we do to provide these kids with more opportunities to actually be on the field versus sitting on the bench in the dugout?
Thanks, Darryl. And I spoke about this, and I spoke about it last Thursday. I was asked, So if it's one or two kids over a course of a 12 to 14, 15-game season, as we know, the spring is tough with weather. Can't guarantee, right? We could load up a schedule. So one of the things we discussed, if this merger goes through, let's add maybe a game or two, right? That's if you go from 14 to 16 games, right? You're adding a lot more reps. You're adding the chance to play. With that being said, I got to, on the freshman and JV level especially, I've done this a long time. I've seen usually after 4 to 6 weeks, things fall apart, right? Kids get injured, so going from what I number 15 to 16 or 15 to 17, that 1 or 2 extra kids, what I think is that will only benefit, and we'll need all those ABs, and we'll need those kids eventually. We will increase the games and see what that looks like. Again, I'm not comfortable with it, but just think in general percentages, it will give the balance, the chance to balance it, and get more at bats, more chance in the field. I want to talk about my trust in the coaches here, Darryl. My JV and freshman coach, they're great. They understand our program philosophy, and our freshman and JV programs in athletic handbooks speak to playing time and competitive balance. It is different from varsity to JV to freshman. So, yeah, we will try to accommodate. We also have to think, at some point, it's athletics, folks, and those games, those half of games that are 1-run or 2-run games, the kids that deserve to be on that field will be. From what I've heard after day one from Coach Genovese, we have some good players at that level. So I think some of our kids have been working, our 8th graders and 9th graders, being on the field a lot of the time, and they'll be there. So while I can't specifically, I can't sit here and say none of our kids will miss an at-bat or two, because they may. But over a course of a season, a bat or two, as compared to what everything I think we've outlined this morning, I think is minimal. And I spoke about this to the parents, the reps, through having 2 coaches at the freshman level, 2 coaches at the JV level, is unheard of in the athletic world. To have volunteer assistants to do what coach has done, to bring extra coaches in to support those kids, I have no doubt that our kids throughout the course of the season, even if it's an at-bat or 2, will be missed. Remember, those 8th graders are getting 15 games by having this opportunity. But even if that, the games, the at-bats that they miss, I think everything else that's going into this is an absolute, no pun intended, home run for our kids in our program. Please.
I also just wanted to kind of touch on some specific elements too. So I am a partner in a baseball development facility over in Mayapack, and that's kind of how I got introduced to coming back into the community after I was coaching in college for a little bit. So for me, development is huge, obviously, on the field. So realistically, when we kind of had to make a quick pivot once this thing started going, these plans were stuff that we kind of had in place already, and now we're just kind of trying to expand them. So we talked about the coaching staffs getting expanded, stuff like that. The biggest thing is we had talked about creating a farm system element through the freshman and JV levels, making sure that we can create a proper development cycle. So once they get to that varsity roster, they're able to compete for a section championship and so on and so on. So from a on-field perspective, that is our goal. We have really revamped our, development philosophy in making sure that we are able to create on a need base. We have made a huge drill library where we're going to incorporate a lot of the more individualization for everything. So kids will have kind of mini routines that they'll go through that's kind of a little bit more directed towards their need on a more specific basis. Defensive stuff will have a little bit more specific focus on areas and adapt based off of some of the stuff going on in the games. Mark had obviously said we expanded our game roster. I am working with our JV and freshman coach once everything gets going on, or rolling a little bit. We are going to kind of script some of those games like in a spring training type element in the initial portion, and then hit a threshold where we're going to then obviously create a reward system based off performance and effort. The other big thing that is huge in baseball is summer baseball. Again, I'm very. I've studied biomechanics, and I consider myself pretty well versed in that area.
Coach,
so there is a huge.
Coach, I apologize. I really apologize for interrupting. I just know that some of us have really hard stops, and so.
Got it. Sorry.
Like, I have to catch a
No.
train.
It's great information, but if has everyone heard?
Yeah.
Yes.
I think I think we've heard what we've needed to hear, and I apologize for cutting off. It's just we do have hard stops.
And
volunteers.
just to summarize too, Mark, you were saying like in the past we've had rosters for the 3 teams of about 60 kids. This year we're looking at 53, max 56 kids total if we include the North Salem players, 50 of them being ours, and those are the numbers that we're looking at this point.
Those are the numbers.
Okay.
I'm doing quick math in my head, so I don't misrepresent that. But those are the numbers, Amanda.
Okay.
Correct.
Thank you. Yeah, no, I was
Right.
I added them up when you listed them up, so don't
I
worry.
trust
Yeah.
your math at this point in my head. Yeah.
All right, so I'm going to read the resolution now, everyone. Resolved that upon the recommendation of the superintendent of schools, the Board of Education of the Somers Central School District does hereby approve the merger of the varsity, JV, and freshman boys baseball teams of Somers Central School District and North Salem High School for the 24-25 season as per the merger application.
So moved.
Well,
Doing
Second.
second, and then
Second.
we can just discuss.
second, yeah.
Okay.
Okay, discussion?
Yeah, I'd like to say a few words. I think no issue is trivial for this board, and this matter came up sort of late. But it's not difficult, though. I think everything we just have to analyze from a principle point of view. Here we have few principles. First, of course, we all observe principle of democracy that we vote, majority, rules. The second is principle of sportsmanship. Okay, we are talking about athletic activities, and sportsmanship is the ultimate principle we have to adhere to. Thirdly is neighbor relation principles, okay? We live in a community, we have several neighbor towns, so on. We merge with different sports. There are all reasons that we do that, and we want to maintain good neighborhood relationship. Lastly, of course, we want to observe the principle of fairness. Fairness is kind of a soft term, but it's something we should observe. It impacts people differently, individual or family or community. I think this board has, even though in a short time, we did try to get all the facts and to be fair. And since this matter is only 1 year, the maximum impact is not that severe, and all the facts laid out financially and playing opportunity and team performance in the future, so on, it's all being considered. So for that, I want to urge the community to treat matters like this, like the board members think, that we do touch all bases. So I will vote for the merger. Thank you.
I was just going to say, I know the rollout of the merger has been really a challenge, and when our boards found out after the fact, et cetera, and I've really struggled on catching up, and I hate being in the position we're in. And that being said, here we are. And so, I really truly do see both sides of this. I do, and I understand, the parents' concerns. We've been trying our best to address all of these concerns and listening to everybody. But I agree with what a lot of what Ife has said, and you know, hearing from you guys saying that the impact, I'm hearing you saying the impact is going to be minimal, that we typically have rosters of 60 kids. This year, even if we include the North Salem kids, it'll be under that. It'll be 53 to 56 kids. I'm hearing that our, you know, the competitive, you know, you guys have really set up for the ratio to be lower overall. And I'm hearing that we're taking care of our kids first. We're making our teams first for our Somers kids, but at the same time also showing these kids a lesson of sportsmanship and fairness and inclusivity. And I can really appreciate that. So I believe I can get to yes on this. So, anyone else have anything?
I agree with what Ife and Amanda said. It's about character building. We're about, you know, character building for our kids, and I think that's the only thing that hasn't really been said. It's kind of built into what Amanda and Ife were talking about. But I do view this as an opportunity to show some leadership to the kids about what these values that we all hold dear actually mean in practice. So that's all I've got.
Yeah, I'm not gonna repeat because I thought what Ife said matched very much what I had down here. So I appreciate this is the meeting we needed to have, and the understanding that we needed. I think that I needed to get to for me, and you know.
Okay.
Let's go forward.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Opposed.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Then that I will adjourn the meeting. Be it resolved that this special meeting of the Board of Education be adjourned.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.